Good evening. This is Making the Case. I'm Yodit Tewolde. Fight for our vote. That's the headline of a full-page ad taken out by former First Lady Michelle Obama in the New York Times on Sunday. When We All Vote, the voting rights organization Mrs. Obama founded, and more than 30 other voting and civil rights organizations are pulling together their collective power. Taking the pledge means taking action in a number of specific ways in an effort to fight against the recent wave of new voter suppression laws passed by several states all over the country, and to turn out voters for this year's midterm elections. Here to discuss how the former First Lady is asking us all to get involved is Stephanie Young, the Executive Director of When We All Vote. Welcome back to the show, Stephanie. Always great to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's talk about this ad taken out in the New York Times. The First Lady outlined specific action items your organization and others plan to take. Can you tell us about what those are?
Yes. Well, you know, we're facing an unprecedented amount of voter suppression, as you already mentioned at the top of the show. And we know that we have to fight back in a myriad of ways. One is ensuring that we do everything we can to press the Senate and Congress to take action on two pieces of legislation. That's the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And a part of the different actions that are included in the pledge are at least to help 100,000 Americans make their voices heard by pushing and pressing their members of Congress to change the rules, as Senator Chuck Schumer mentioned, around filibuster reform, if need be, but probably we're going to need that, and make their voices heard for those two pieces of legislation. In addition to that, we also want to make sure that we are organizing at least 100,000 folks to volunteer this season. We want to make sure that we're registering at least 1 million people. And we will also want to make sure that we're recruiting thousands of lawyers, especially in those states that have been targeted with these voter suppression laws, to ensure that we are giving people support on the ground when they actually go and vote this November. And we want to teach people how to vote and vote safely. We're still in a global pandemic. So these are actions and these are things that most of these organizations work on. They're experts already. But as you mentioned, we're going to pull our collective power together because this is an unprecedented attack, not just on voters, but on our democracy at large. And we have to step up and do all that we can in light of the fact that Congress has not taken any action, but pressing them to do so.
Congress hasn't taken any action, and that's what's incredibly frustrating, Stephanie, because once again, it's on us to do everything that we can to save the vote, something that our lawmakers refuse to do. Let's talk about timeline. Every midterm election feels like it's the most critical. Tell us why the 2022 midterms is different and why this fight feels different.
Well, it's different because we have not seen this type of attack on voters or these voter suppression tactics really since Reconstruction and since Jim Crow. They're taking old plays out of the old playbook, and we're talking about over 500 bills, and almost every state has either been drafted or introduced, and some have passed. So the assault on voters is real, and if people cannot make their voices heard, then how are we going to have a true and real democracy? One of the things that the For the People Act does, or the Freedom to Vote Act, excuse me, is it makes sure that we end partisan gerrymandering so that we actually have a government that represents the people, as opposed to different pockets of the same people electing, or different pockets of people electing the same people over and over and over again. In addition to that, one thing that we're really not paying attention to is a lot of roles in states that lead elections, like the secretaries of state. Those elections are happening in November. And what does that mean? That means that, let's just say in 2024, if someone does not like the election results, when that Secretary of State could say, well, I'm not certifying this election. We saw that happen. We saw the assault happen. We just passed the anniversary of the assault on our Capitol and on our democracy, and it was all about certifying the election. So the games that people are playing are beyond real. They're aiming for the long term to be disruptive, to ensure that the government reflects their values only, and put people in power that only represent and support them. So we have to be vigilant, and we have to pay attention, because There are people betting on us not paying attention and kind of being asleep at the wheel. And the last thing I'll say is this: the American people did an amazing job coming out and voting in 2020. We're talking about record-breaking turnout. With 67% of citizens over the age of 18, eligible voters actually voting. So the people have done their job. That's why it's time for Congress to step up in a major way.
Stephanie, President Biden and Vice President Harris are heading to Atlanta tomorrow to talk about voting rights. But people aren't expecting to hear anything different from this administration on this issue. They've laid out the problem. They've expressed frustration with Republicans, and they've called on organizations yet again to do more. But what will this administration do? So what can we expect to hear, or what should we hear from the president and vice president tomorrow?
Well, I know I want to hear more about rules change and about supporting the Senate taking action to changing the rules to ensuring that we are not blocking voting rights legislation. That's what I want to hear about. At the end of the day, these groups have done some amazing work. Obviously, we have more work cut out for us this year, but we have to have federal legislation. We cannot out-organize voter suppression. These tactics are real, and they impact real people, especially Black and brown people, especially people of color and those with disabilities. So what I want to hear is that they are backing and supporting rules change. They're going to do everything they can do between now and really the first of this week as Congress goes back into session. We know that Leader Schumer said that by the 17th, MLK Day, they want to take up voting rights legislation, and they're going to look at rules change. So I want to hear that. I want to hear that emphasized. I want to hear that we're not going to stop at anything. We're going to keep going. We're going to push for this as hard as we can. I know that's what many in the voting rights community want to hear, and really just want to see. Nobody wants to hear anything at this point. We just want to see, and we want to see the action.
Right. So less rhetoric, more action. Speaking of rule changes, the president supports now making an exception to the Senate filibuster rules to finally get voting rights legislation passed. It's the most direct he's been on this issue. So could this mean that we could finally maybe get something done to protect voting rights?
Absolutely. And what the filibuster has shown us is that it blocks progress on not just voting rights, but any social movement right that comes to the Senate floor, anything that's progressive, anything that will push and move this country forward, the filibuster has stopped. And it also allows those who do not have the majority of the Senate to overrule the majority, of senators who want to move forward with something. So it's an old a way of doing things. It's not impactful. It does not help move us forward. And it's used to really stop progress, especially for communities of color. And it needs to be done away with. So I'm hoping that once we get over that hurdle, we will see legislation passed. And with the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, we're going to modernize our voting system. We're going to ensure that we're providing more access to the ballot box and not less access. We're going to end political gerrymandering. There's so many things that we're going to do to move voting forward in this country and make it easier and not harder. And the last thing I'll say on that is this: look, they've used voting as a partisan issue. There is nothing partisan about voting. That is the most fundamental thing when it comes to our democracy. So if people cannot vote, we cannot have a true democracy. And the filibuster is standing in the way of that right now.
Well, Stephanie, I got 90 seconds, but I think this is a great question to ask for us to end this conversation. I know there's an event on social media tomorrow and other opportunities to get involved in the weeks ahead, but let our viewers know how they can join the pledge and do their part to fight for our vote.
Yes, we need so many people signing up to be volunteers. We need you calling your senators today, tomorrow, the next day, and getting your friends and family to do that. Please go to whenweallvote.org. Make sure you sign up. Please make sure you join our Twitter chat tomorrow that we're having. You can learn even more. And on MLK Day, it's a day on, not a day off. We want you to help register voters in your community safely, and we have opportunities for you to do just that. So please, we ask you to come over to whenweallvote.org. There's a lot of work that you can do. We make it easy, and we hope to make it fun as well.
When We All Vote Executive Director Stephanie Young, thank you so much for your time tonight and for the good work. Thank you.